Okay, so like before, if I want to take a derivative of something that's division like this, I will figure out what my top function is. And then I will also figure out what my bottom function is. And I'll take derivatives of both. So g prime of x is 1. Derivative of x is 1. And to do a square root, I remember that square root is x to the 1/2. So that would be minus 1/2 x to the negative 1/2 power. And then h prime of x. So, and actually we just did this, so I know that this is 4 times 1/2 x to the negative 1/2. Derivative of 3 is 0, so rewriting, I have 2x to the negative 1/2. Okay, so I'm really hoping that you guys will remember to use your note card. So we are going to do g prime times h and then subtract g h prime. So let's do that. Then we'll check back there. So 1 minus 1/2 x to the negative 1/2 times 4 square root of x plus 3, and then minus g of x, x minus the square root of x times h prime of x. Oh, I was about to write literally h prime of x. 2x to the negative 1/2. Okay, so there's one thing that we should check, and that is that we're getting the direction right. So when we have subtraction in this equation means that we can't just rearrange as easily as we could with addition. So I just want to double check that g prime of x is first in what I did. Okay, and it looks like it is. So now I'll do the last part, which is to divide the whole thing by h of x squared. Okay, and then I'll put parentheses here and square it. And that should be the end of that. Okay, let's move on to number 6. Okay, this is very similar. So the difference though this time is we actually don't have functions, and we don't even really have to take those, like the derivative of f and the derivative of g. Oh, I'm gonna sneeze. Nope, I think it's passing. Okay, so I don't have to actually take the derivative of f and g because it's given to me. So what I do need to remember is what the actual difference quotient is. So let's see. Q prime of x should equal, according to the rule that we have, the quotient rule, should be g of x, the bottom, times the derivative of the top, minus the top, times the derivative of the bottom, all over the bottom squared. So there is some room for messing around here. Like, since it's multiplying, those two can switch place, or those two can switch places. But what I can't do is switch those two terms. So I'm going to leave it like that. And let's see. I need q prime of 3. Q prime of 3 is going to equal g of 3 times f prime of 3 minus f of 3 times g prime of 3, all over g of 3 squared. Okay, g of 3 up here is negative 2, f prime of 3 is negative 1, and then it's minus f of 3, which is 7, and g prime of 3, which is 3/2. So I'm just picking these values from up here, if you're missing that, and then divided by g of 3 squared, so negative 2 squared. Okay, so that's going to be 2, and then minus 21 over 2 divided by negative 2 squared is 4. And to be honest, I don't really care if you put this in a calculator or do it in your head, but well, actually, let's do it all the way. So to do fractions, I do 4 over 2 minus 21 over 2, and then I'm going to divide that by 4 over 1. So 4 minus 21 is, let's see, 21, 20, 19, 18. So I think it's, let's see, that can't be right. 18, it's 17. 17 over 2 divided by 4 over 1, which is 17 divided by 8. Cool. Okay, so if there are any questions, ask them on the discussion board.